Welcome back, guys, to another Honda Navi video. As you guys saw in the last video, we dove into wiring up a diode for our turn signal bulb. Works absolutely perfect. So the Navi's been sitting down in the basement. Weather's getting a little bit warmer. This is the last thing I need to do in order for me to be able to actually ride it, rip it around, show you guys what this thing can do, and that is to put the rear fender back on. But not just any plain old rear fender, no stock one, no RecklessCustoms half fender, although those do look very good. We got the carbon one, as well as the headlight shroud. This I have been waiting for since they released it. There's a few things we're going to go over with this. This is completely bolt-on, and then later on down the road, we're going to go ahead and do our own custom halo. Stay tuned for that video. That's what's going to be coming this summer. But we're mainly just going to be focusing on the fender. So for those of you who actually own Honda Navis, you know they come with this stock wheel shroud fender thing. It prevents dirt and grime from getting up underneath there. It can be kind of finicky to clean it all off. Prevents it from spraying all over your license plate and your tail light and all that fun stuff. Arguably ugly, arguably functional. Well, definitely functional. You be the judge. Personally, I love this style of fender. I wouldn't even trim this close. This does so much for me, especially when I'm taking it on the mud trails and stuff like that, which I still do with this bike. As the wheel's turning, it gets caught in this. A lot of people remove these too, the carb curtains. I like them because they keep the carb kind of out of sight from everybody. And I also think it looks kind of cool when the tube goes back there. If you guys have an open intake, this is the man-in-the-box intake. You can find it on their website for the Honda Navi. It kind of like disappears kind of behind a curtain. I think it looks kind of cool. But you get a lot of grime that builds up. This is your starter. It all builds up in here. It kind of just puddles. RecklessCustoms and other websites sell like a half little fender, which I mean, it does its job, but you still get a lot of spray up and stuff like that. Another cool thing about it is this fender is completely bolt-on with some of the exhausts that you can find for the Honda Navi, like the Yoshimura, and you can still mount it. We will get into what I have going on there and there as well, but it functions perfect. So those are my reasons as to why I will not be getting rid of the fender. I think the carbon's going to make it look very unique, very cool, so I think I'm going to like it a lot better. I've never really had any gripes with the stock rear fender and how it came from the dealership. The only thing I had to do, though, is cut this side off. So for those of you that know, there's a piece of plastic that comes out like this. And when you have a stock air box, that's also another fender bracket. So to compensate for that, I cut it off because it looks a little bit better. I already went ahead and did that. But another main reason why is when I go to upgrade this shock this summer, they have reservoirs back here, nitrogen reservoirs or hydraulic reservoirs, and this actually gets in the way, so it sticks out a little bit and the reservoir doesn't fit. They actually say when you go ahead and get the shock mount from Man-in-the-Box in order to mount up Grom shocks, this piece of plastic needs to be trimmed. Not aggressively like what I did, like completely flush, but it does need to be trimmed off anyway. So I think it looks so much better. So enough of the babbling, enough of me trying to justify me doing this. Let's actually get right into the video. We're going to be focusing on the fender. To start it off, there is a bolt on this side. There is a bolt down here. You do not or should not take these two 10mm off. These two actually hold your cases together, and these have been known to drip your transmission fluid out and you actually lose and leak it everywhere. So just take this one 10mm off. For those of you who have not done the 12-inch rim conversion, this will be down here. You won't have two bolts right here, and everything else should be pretty much the same as it is. For the air box, again, you're going to have the bolt right here, and then you're going to have a bolt down behind there. So this is what your stock fender looks like when it's off the bike, and as you can tell, this thing sees quite a bit of mud and dirt. I don't take this off every single time I wash the bike. It kind of looks normal. And the front gets a little dirty too because of the backsplash, but that's perfectly fine. Now, one thing I realized that's different from these fenders, is, if you look right here, this piece of plastic is missing right here. That's actually super important because I had a 10 millimeter coming off of the man in the box intake right there down by the cases that would actually hold this fender on. So I'd keep this mount, keep the exhaust mount, and keep this mount, and the fender would be pretty stable. This is cut out for some reason. I don't know why Reckless Customs did that. It also shows a lot more wheel too, especially with the white walls. It looks kind of cool, but it also doesn't do as good of a job at keeping the dirt in there. I think that definitely did a lot. So I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to mount this fender. But getting specifically away from the fenders, we are going to talk about how I managed to space out the stock fender, or the stock style of fender, without it hitting the rim. So this is a 12-inch rear wheel conversion. I did have to shave down the case a little bit, not leaking oil, nothing wrong there. It has been absolutely great, completely stable. What you have to do is, so this bracket coming off has a 10 millimeter. This bracket is custom made. So what I did was, you can find these clips on your airbox when you take them off, I believe. I believe that's where I got this from. This is the same type of thread as these types of bolts. This came off of the airbox. I believe this was the back one that sit right there. You need this bolt because it's collared, shouldered, collared, whatever you want to call it, because that's how that fender bolt hole is done. This mounts to this, where the stock, you can actually see the wear and tear from the stock fender. Mounts up here, comes up about, I'm gonna say 3.5, 4 inches. Raises this up. We do have a custom bracket that I just made for this side using a bunch of light bar L brackets from Amazon. And then this side is also spaced out as well. This is a custom bushing I made. I forget where these even came from. I think you can find these at Home Depot, and I spray painted it black. This sits on top of this and spaces out that side of the fender as well. So it's completely custom. As soon as I put this fender on, it will be completely custom. So that's actually kind of cool. And that's how I'm able to clear this wheel. This comes very, very close, but does not hit, which I am very thankful for. And for those of you at home wondering how exactly you can do that too when you have the 12-inch rear wheel mod, all you do is take all your brackets off. So you're not going to have this here, and you might not even have this here. This was actually extremely helpful. So if you have a Yoshimura exhaust, keep this bracket on. Slide this fender over so you can see that, you know, it doesn't fit. So what I did was, and here's the big part too, I have seen people space this fender out, but it looks like that, or it looks like that, or it's like up like that. It just doesn't look good. I want this to remain as straight as I can. So without, well, you guys are gonna have two hands. I have a camera in my hand. When you lift the fender up, you find the height at which it stops rubbing and the width as well. So right here it rubs, right there it rubs. You want to keep it as centered as you can. So the front's going to be fine, the sides are fine, and that's how I managed to space it out. As far as making the spacers, it's unfortunately going to be completely custom. That bracket on the left side coming off the transmission case, that was completely custom. I remember I put it in the vise over there and hacked that thing up for probably 2 days just trying to measure it. You guys can see it kind of has a Z bend into it, so it starts out flat, goes this way, and then finishes like that as well. I needed that in order to get the fender over near the tire more, and also to help it align and keep it straight. You need to swap over all of your hardware, which is pretty much just this side. This is a metal collar that sits in here and enables this fender to actually cramp and crimp down. It also gives it a little bit of flexibility as well with the help of these rubber grommets. If yours are dry rotted, if yours are shattered, broken, torn, these are the same part numbers for the bushings for the plastics of TRX 450Rs. If you guys are well versed in the world of sport ATVs, these are the exact same grommet bushings. So Honda reusing some stuff just to keep the cost of the bike down. I think that's kind of cool. This just sits in there like that. You will swap that from your old fender onto this, and then you'll be pretty much ready to start spacing things out So the big important part about this, as I fall backwards, is making sure these are all snug. So you can get a final fitment kind of thing. You can see it's not exact yet, but once I go ahead and do the front placement, I think this is gonna look a lot better. So I do have to do that front mount. This is gonna wobble back and forth, as you can tell, because the front is not secured. So I'm gonna be a little bit nervous if I leave it like this, so I do have to add another mount. And that is where this mount comes in the same kind of form as that one, you know, it Z's. I don't know which way I'm gonna put this. I don't know if I need to put it like this or if I need to extend it closer to the rim like that. But I have to play around with it and see which way I choose. I think we've had a revelation. This is probably more genius than I've seen anybody else do, actually. So we have a bolt right here. These two bolts are the stock bolts for your airbox. This bolt threads actually into the case, goes all the way through. That's what holds your air intake on. If you get a bolt long enough, it sticks out the back. I put that Z bracket that I made coming from the back of that, which you can barely even make it out if you were looking at it. And there's a nut on the back of that which secures this. That goes to a bolt that comes off of that bracket on the other side, not on the outside, on the other side, that goes up and goes into the fender. And it's not bolted down yet, but that fender barely moves as it is. That is the pitch that we're dealing with. So it actually looks pretty dang good. The final thing we're gonna do to this fender is I went ahead and went to Pro Bolt USA. I use these guys for absolutely everything, anything and everything. We got some custom hardware that we're gonna go ahead and dress this fender up with. Super excited about it, and we're gonna go ahead and do that right now real quick. Finished product, look at that. That looks super good. Got that bracket right there on the exhaust, the Allen head going through it. That looks phenomenal. Fit finish, I would give it probably like an 8 out of 10. I can't help but feel that it kind of looks tacky a little bit. From a distance and up close, it does look good. I felt like if you just had the fake carbon fender, it wouldn't look that good, but the bling really pulls it together and makes it look like it's its own kind of thing. Sorry it took so long. I actually ordered the wrong size bolts for the fender. They wouldn't even fit through with the collars I had. So thank you guys for watching. Plenty more videos coming. I'm ordering so much more for the Navi. We're almost done. We're getting there. You know, I really want to go ahead and ride it this year. Yes, we're going to work on it. Yes, we're going to do things to it, but I really want to go ahead and ride it this year. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace.